On February 24th, 1996, performance artist, actress, and musician in her wonderful band Bongwater, Ann Magnuson, appeared on the short-lived Lauren Hutton talk show. Lauren is a really good interviewer. This rivals the Later with Bob Costas interview for the best Ann Magnuson chat fest that I recorded. Sorry, Bob. Plus, Lauren's a lot easier on the ears. The ears, right. We don't want to go down any roads that aren't acceptable. I mean, Ann Magnuson could get away with it, but not me.
Tonight's guest has been called the Downtown Lily Tomlin and the Goddess of Fringe. She made us laugh hysterically on TV's Anything But Love, and now she displays her unique talents on her new CD, The Love Show. Ann Magnuson.
Hi, Lauren.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
So now your life seems to be a reaction to growing up in Charleston, West Virginia. Is that right?
Well, I think I'm definitely a result of growing up there, which used to proudly proclaim itself as the chemical center of the world.
Chemical center of the world?
Yes.
Ooh.
So I think maybe some of those chemicals infiltrated my consciousness and
What's it like?
turned me into what I
am.
am today.
Yeah.
What's it like?
Yeah.
It's actually a very sweet little town. It's a river town in a valley that had its Mayberry moments when I was growing up. And I actually think it's a very nice place. People are really decent and actually quite clever. There's a real intelligent sense of humor going on with more people than you would suspect, since West Virginia unfortunately has this hillbilly reputation. And
they try to pretend every place outside of New York or LA has a hillbilly or a cowboy or a, this or that reputation. But
yeah, but I like to go back there and get a sense of what's real, because you need that, especially when you live in Los Angeles, where nothing is real.
We'll come back to that. Your father said he gave you the advice of don't go into showbiz because there are too many unhappy people in it. What do you think?
Well, those unhappy people
anyway.
have so much more fun being unhappy, don't they? Well, I think sometimes it's not a choice. You just have to do it. And I felt compelled. Sometimes I think if I had my life to live over again, maybe I'd try to do something a little more, what's the word? Something I could rely on. It's just an awful lot of rejection that goes on and requires so much strength of character and willpower just to believe in yourself when so many people don't or won't.
Yeah, I always tell people when they come up to me and say, how do you get into showbiz? How'd you get, or modeling or any of this stuff, I say don't.
Yes, because
unless you absolutely cannot, you have a psychotic need.
Right, and we all do have a psychotic need. In college, where they would have visiting professionals come to talk to the students, and every single one of them would tell you not to get involved. And I was always so discouraging me, I want to be encouraged, and now I understand, because I now try to discourage people from getting into it. But I think when you need to do it, you just do it, and nothing's going to stop you.
Yeah. Any art, I guess. So from West Virginia to Ohio, you went to college in Ohio, right? How'd you land in the East Village?
Well, I didn't want to go to Los Angeles then. I majored in theater and film. It was either New York or LA. And Los Angeles to me was like a giant episode of Chips, and that didn't appeal to me. And Andy Warhol was still doing his thing in New York, and it was a little closer to home. And I was always interested in the avant-garde theater and the art world. And New York had a little more intellectual vibe that I was attracted to. And got here and sort of fell into into the downtown community of artists and musicians and fashion designers and performance artists, people who were interested in doing alternative forms of theater. And I guess it was just a really exciting time because nothing, the world above 14th Street, the real world, the mainstream world didn't exist for us. We simply made things happen for ourselves and for a brief shining moment created art for art's sake, and before people started to get famous or make money, or unfortunately when AIDS came in started killing off everybody. But there was this wonderful time where there was this explosion of creativity.
Yeah, and you started a great club, 57.
Club 57.
Club 57.
Well, I started with a group, it was a whole group of people who did it, and every night, it was sort of like living television, so every night was a different channel. So one night it might be Grand Ole Opry night, where everybody got into their country western drag and impersonated Patsy Cline or Hank Williams. One night would be Way Out Happening, where it would be 60s. We did an evening called The Model World of Glue, where we built models and sniffed the glue, but it wasn't the kind of glue you got.
You didn't inhale, is that right? Or you did?
No, we just, actually I think a lot of people burned their models. There was a lot of flames involved that night. So there's a great deal of craziness.
Let's take a break. We'll be right back with Ann Magnuson. Actor-singer Ann Magnuson, whose new CD is called The Love Show. So, tell me, you were in all these bands in the 80s, from Vulcan Death
Grip.
That
was
Bong Water.
Vulcan Death Grip was my heavy metal band.
Heavy metal.
Which started off as a parody, and after 5 minutes into the rehearsal, ceased being a parody. It was so much fun to scream into a microphone and behave like that.
Behave badly.
Yes. And we had a folk band called Bleecker Street Incident. I was in a band called Bong Water. We've made some albums and toured a little bit. When we were doing the club dates, or when I was running the club, we used to create bands for the different evenings. So if we had a Playboy Bunny night, we created a lounge band called Barbie and the Heftones. Or I had a Eastern European evening and had a Russian pop singer named Anushka. So I would create characters and have bands around them. So music was always sort of a part of the performance activity going on.
One of your more creative endeavors back then was a tribute to Muzak.
Yes, I sang in an elevator at the Whitney Museum to Muzak for about 5 hours.
5 hours. You went up and down in the elevator? How did that work? Was it on one floor? Or
no, you could go up and down to different floors. With me.
In those great big elevators at the
Yes,
Whitney Museum?
We built a little stage in there and had easy listening records as a mobile flying around in the elevator. Actually, I did it at a club before that, and that's where the curator from the Whitney had seen it and wanted to.
How do you sing Muzak? I mean, how do you make a tribute to Muzak? How do you do that exactly?
You do a lot of la 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 la, shoo-ba-doo-ba-da, very, very slow and easy.
And bland.
And bland, very bland.
So you had a corner there in the elevator to be as bland as you could be?
Yes.
I understand dreams have a lot to do with your work.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've always been a real vivid dreamer. And those dreams, I started writing them down every morning as sort of a writing exercise, but also because they were often so absurd that I wanted to recount them to people.
As a child?
Well, I actually started writing them later, but I had dreams as a kid, yeah, which I attribute to the chemicals in the air in the Kanawha Valley. And I started using them in songs and in performance pieces and characters. And actually, there's a few of them that appear on The Love Show. One called Sex with the Devil, which was a dream I had about... Tell
me about that, Sex with the Devil.
Well, it's somewhat self-explanatory. It's about having a date with Lucifer himself. Maybe that's a little bit of my Bible Belt upbringing is coming out. But he thrusts me back into time, where I am in Salem, Massachusetts, or New England somewhere, and I'm come by a public execution, and I noticed that they've got this woman tied to a stake like Joan of Arc, and I realize it's my mother, except she looks like Ethel Merman. And she tells me she loves me, except she sings it, and I'm not going to do it now, but this...
I love you, I love you. I heard
this
it.
big
It was
Ethel
great.
Merman
It was really
showbiz
funny.
moment, and then I think people should buy the CD to find out what happens exactly. But this is just one example of the sickness that goes on at nighttime inside my head.
It was pretty funny, boy. It was very good. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back with actress, singer Ann Magnuson. We're back with actress, singer Ann Magnuson, whose new CD is called The Love Show. You seem like a most unlikely person to move to L.A. Why'd you do it?
Love.
Why? Love, the usual reason.
Yeah. Why else would I go there? No, I fell in love with somebody who lived there, and he wanted me to come out there. So I did. And also, I felt that I had exhausted the New York scene for myself and needed a change. And I wanted to pursue acting, and that was a better place to do it. But yeah, at first, I'd been out there before and just hated it, absolutely hated it. And he really showed me all the cool things.
There are lots of interesting things about it, for sure.
Yeah, places like where Raymond Chandler used to live and where the Beverly Hillbillies mansion was. And we found the Partridge Family bus was parked and, like, you know, rotting in downtown Los Angeles. It's not there anymore.
You said it's sick out there. People's worth is completely judged on the quality of their resume instead of the strength of their character.
Well...
Why'd you stay?
They probably... Well, I think that's more in Century City.
Yeah,
People
where
think
all the
that
big
way.
agencies are.
Right. I think that you can... I've found a community of really great people out there. The art community is wonderful. And there are people working in independent film and dreamers, I like to call them, that you get together with them and circle the wagons and try to just, you know, keep each other sane. Because we all, as much as I could complain, or we can complain about the bad things, that we still love the myth of movie making and the fantasy and the celebration of imagination. I'm starting to sound like a promo for the Disney Channel.
How long you been out there?
Yeah, I think maybe it's time to move back, huh?
You were still in New York when you were making Mr. Right? You were making Mr. Right?
Yeah, actually in Miami. We did that in Florida.
You did that in Miami?
But I was living in New York, yeah.
That must have been something, shooting that. What was that like when you were shooting that?
Very nerve-wracking, because I'd never done a movie before, a big movie. I didn't have that much to do. I had small parts in films.
Did you all knew that that was going to be a very hot film when you were making it, though, right, more or less? Or no?
I had no expectations whatsoever.
You didn't think that was going to turn you into a star or
No,
any of that stuff?
no, I didn't. I mean, I was hoping it would open the door for more acting jobs, and because it really wasn't a hit at all, I was disappointed that I didn't have more job offers, but I had a few, and I had more certainly than I did prior to making it. But I'm sort of a bit of a pessimist at heart at times, or very realistic, and I didn't have any great expectations. I was sort of thrilled that it turned out as well as it did, actually.
Yeah. Your character on Anything But Love was a sort of a wacky, very wacky by TV standards, but pretty tame for you, you know? Did you ever think you were going to land on a sitcom?
Well, I think I did. When I was a kid and I grew up on television, I definitely had dreams of that, yeah. I think because TV was such an integral part of my life that I think everybody felt that to be on television was maybe just a natural course of events, that everyone would eventually get a television show. So I was real happy to get that part. It was really fun to do. It was a little bit of a precursor to those ab-fab characters, the nutty editor. Unfortunately, on American television, they won't let you go as far as on British TV, but I think we were allowed to go a little further than most TV shows, and it was good to do.
And was it because of that that you had your what was it called? Most famous people. What happened back in Charleston?
They had a, it was actually the Kanawha County Bicentennial. They had a special event at the courthouse called Famous Persons Day, and they gave you a plaque that proclaimed you a famous person and a key to the city. And that was almost the high point of my life.
And who else was was it one famous person day?
Oh, no.
This was in Charleston or for the whole state?
No, it was for the county.
The county, okay.
So
the famous people of the county.
Yes. Well, one was one was an NFL linebacker.
Yeah.
Who now had a car dealership. One was a woman who wrote a book on how to organize your closet.
A bestseller?
Yes, of course. There was a blues singer who now lives in Chicago. There was the fellow who published the local newspaper who sang this beautiful, very sentimental song that I ended up incorporating in the one-woman show I did called You Could Be Home Now, which was sort of based on this event. It was a very Mayberry moment.
Right. Let's take a break. We'll be right back with actress, singer Ann Magnuson. Accommodations for guests of Lauren Hutton and provided by the Regency Hotel. We're back with actress, singer, songwriter Ann Magnuson. So I loved you in Clear and Present Danger.
Oh,
by the
thank
way, the Harrison Ford movie. And your latest film is Before and After. Right?
I have a small part in that.
With Meryl Streep and Liam Neeson.
Mm-hmm.
Is it fun?
Well, it actually was a very dramatic role, so I had to cry a lot, and that's not really what you'd call fun.
No.
I basically just have one big scene with Meryl Streep where I play the mother of a teenage girl who's been murdered by their son, and because they're very privileged and have the money, they've hired a lawyer, maybe not unlike a Shapiro Cochran kind of a character to get their son off. And I think it's directed by Barbet Schroeder, so it's extremely timely, and I think it says a lot about the country right now. And
he's a good man and a great director, Barbet.
Yeah, and how the rich can get away with murder.
What made you decide to do LUV show?
Well, because I guess the concept of love was something that's ever present in my mind, and
yeah, you said I read where you said that it's very hard for you to create if you're not getting any.
Getting any love, right?
Yes.
Getting any affection, and I think it helps me be creative because I can focus on. I'm not distracted when I'm being fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
And right now I'm not as fulfilled as I would like to be. So
good, and you're back in New York. That
I
should
know.
Please a lot of people.
Yeah, I hope so.
Do you think women can have good sex without being in love?
Yes, I do. I think you can. The same way as you can have a good workout on a Stairmaster without being in love with it. But
I don't.
I felt that way when I was younger, when I was getting into that into my sexual prime years, as I was getting into my 30s. And now I find that loveless sex is very ugly and unappealing to me.
Oh, well, that's what I was saying. I was saying, do you think women can have good sex without being in love, or at least have the potential very strongly? In other words, they might be in love and not even know it yet, you know, which often happens.
Well, I think that you can, but it depends on like what phase of your life you're in, and what you're looking for. I mean, sometimes I find that modern women adopt male traits to compete, to cope in a male-dominated society, so that having sex with somebody you're not in love with, to me, is more of a male activity, and one I have engaged in and have found to be very empty and unfulfilling. So I've gotten to the point where I'd rather do without, because I just find it very pornographic and
distasteful and embarrassing.
Draining, you know. I think it's just...
I know.
To not have love connected to it is pointless.
Yeah. It's funny because it's almost as if nature set up two completely opposite ideas for the same thing, so there would be constant drama and trouble surrounding this business.
Maybe that's entertaining the gods.
I guess, entertaining the gods.
Laughing at
For
us.
my generation, it was the idea that the guys had made up this idea. It was the famous double standard of sex. But
Well,
as
I
I've
think the
grown
sexual-
up, I've decided that it absolutely is a biological double standard that is, you know, we're made to know what seeds are planted in us, and they're made to spread those seeds all over the place. So it makes for a constant flurry.
And don't you think the sexual revolution definitely benefited men more than women?
Yes, but at least it got our moms off our backs, you know what I mean? In the sense
Well,
of
that's
moms,
true.
of the big mom, you know, religious ideas
Right.
and all this thing of that we couldn't own our own bodies and we couldn't do what
No,
we
that's
wanted to do.
absolutely true.
You couldn't, in the 50s, you could not, you couldn't sleep with someone without being married, really. I mean, in my mother's time, if you slept with someone you weren't married to, you were a prostitute, or, I mean, it was just,
Or a beatnik?
well, they didn't have beatniks yet.
I feel like I might be turning slightly more conservative, but I'm not going into Phyllis Schlafly territory yet.
No, no. I don't think you ever will, Ann.
No.
Put her there. I like The Love Show very, very much. It's a good album. Well, I hope you come back and see us again. Good night and get to bed.
Thank you for watching Cleveland Live Music. Don't worry, this cop that's approaching is not going to interrupt great uploads. He hopefully supports the channel as much as you folks who hit the subscribe button do. There's Patreon and GoFundMe information that I doubt he's going to do. You can. But subscribe. Keep watching. That's all that counts.